Hey guys, Stealth here and welcome back to, well, what's in a way the return of Tactical Tuesdays for Wargame. I used to do this series, a 10v10 tactical on Tuesdays, and, well, since I did one last week, I thought as well, might do one this week. 10v10s are an interesting and weird place. They're a place where you can have excellent battles, and they're a place where you can see the weirdest shit. Starting with some of the usernames. If I want to keep my monetization, I'm not so sure if I should be doing... if I could be calling out some of these usernames. Anyway, the map is Punch Bowl. You got a lot of opportunity to flank. You got a lot of forests to fly over with helicopters. You can have intense town fights from Foxtrot to Echo. You can have fights over in Bravo. You can have fights going between Charlie and Delta. And there are a lot of opportunities here as well to do maneuvers here, across there. You can try and flank all the way around in the mountains if you have the patience for that. Or if you actually made it into Delta or the other way around, flank all the way through here and end up in the other one's spawn. Somebody is already going to do that. It's Dominic. Dominic, however, not the focal point of today's video. That is, yes, believe it or not, Taito's favorite cat girl. I cannot believe I just said that. He's going to do a glorious Yuche tank rush in the form of Chon Mahos. And Chon Mahos are backed up by M84As, a bunch of anti-air. There is even a couple of T55 Dynas from... Here we go, and goodbye monetization. Please all support me on Patreon. This is War Crime Generator. For more anti-air, we have Kub M4s, and for more tanks, we have Patents. Hwasong Chong from Black Sheep might be useful in a semi-anti-air role, although at shorter range. Now, if you see something like this is basically an Aardvark's wet dream. Because one cluster bomb could wipe out almost all of these tanks and do it very, very swiftly. I think a cluster bomber or two would have been preferential over a Thunderbolt, for example, because a Thunderbolt... Sure, it would take out a few of these tanks, and if not under enemy aircraft or anti-aircraft fire, it would probably do very well. But it just wouldn't kill these things fast enough. It might not have enough missiles, and even if it's running out of missiles and you just do gun runs, well, it just probably wouldn't have the right firepower. But this is what is going to blow for. So all that intro about flanking stuff... Who needs that shit? We got tanks, and we got a lot of them. Now for backup, there's also a K-52, an Mi-28, and an Mi-24V. Because while there are a lot of tanks, there are not that many reconnaissance vehicles. There is one Mi-4AN, but most of these tanks either have poor optics or medium. The Mi-4A at least has medium. You got the Mi-4AN, which has very good, but Chon Mahos themselves cannot see anything. Poor optics. Now immediately we encounter a column from Juniorus, and he is going to try and take the middle, seemingly with support from Take Joe. And Take Joe and Juniorus are relying on 1-2A5 to try and stop this entire column. That is problematic for the Leopard 2A5. Because while this thing is definitely capable of landing a few hits, potentially even wiping out some tanks, there are simply too many tanks and not enough shells. This Leopard is not going to be surviving for very long. The Merkava 2B then valiantly makes an effort and immediately gets hit by a couple of missiles from the Dyna, and it simply doesn't know what way to turn, so it gets side-shot by the Chon Mahos. The infantry that does make it to the town just basically is stuck, it cannot go anywhere, and finally the Challenger Marksmen over here are going to do a lot of damage to the air push. Only the 24V survives. But the Challenger Marksmans won't really be there for very long. Now, there's another tank over here. It's a Leopard 2A4 and even a Challenger 2. Not bad tanks all by themselves. The Challenger 2 is an excellent tank. Good rate of fire, a lot of frontal armor, well enough punch to kill all of these things with one side shot. The problem is there are just too many, and they're not stopping and waiting for the for the Challenger 2 or the Leopard 2A4 to do some damage. So, here go the Chon Mahos right into the enemy base. To note, by the way, we got the base Chon Mahos from Taito, and then we got Chon Maho 5, which are definitely better tanks from Black Sheep. and a couple of T-72Ms from Black Sheep as well. What's the difference? Well, these things cannot shoot anything on the move. 10% accuracy stabilized. These are a little better at 30%. They have a better gun overall with more firepower, a better rate of fire, and a lot more armor. Because these poor things are only armored with 6 frontal armor. Now, quite clever, they immediately push the command vehicle into the sector. In case you're wondering, where is Blue? Well, that's an excellent question. Blue is probably holed up in Dimitri somewhere. They have whatever remains from the 2 players who went to Boris sort of trying to, well, survive. There's a Stormer there. There was a Challenger too, same from Sam. But Red, for now, has to rely upon the T-80 UK, the Book, and 2 Vasileks to keep this whole place secure. It's not a lot to work with, is it? Red immediately has the sector neutralized thanks to their own command infantry, but they're being threatened. There's 2 Vickers over there. And we have our big Challenger 2 coming back in, as well as some Milan who's, well, trying to walk back, but that's a long walk and not enough speed to do it with. So, the hunt for the command starts. Where is Blue Force command unit? The Chunmahos couldn't tell you, because they're simply too blind. They could basically be sitting on top of the command unit, there's the command infantry, but they probably wouldn't see it. Fortunately, Dominic and his flanking maneuver have come through. They made it all the way down this road, ignored everything that was sent to Elena from Blue 4, and just drove right across the road into the enemy base, where they're going to be offloading a lot of LSTR. This is a quad stack of LSTR 40, and there's a second quad stack right next to them. That's expensive. That's a lot of infantry. Fortunately, these guys are capable of finding the enemy command unit. Blue 4 was not successful in killing off Red 4's command infantry, and even though the Challenger is still making life a little difficult over here on the surviving tanks, potentially even shooting the FOB, I'm not too sure. But at any rate, the LSTR have found the command unit and have wiped it out. So, who needs flanking on a map like Punchbowl? I mean, why? If you can just charge right through, might as well. And, well, I gotta say, it was a silly idea, but it looked amazing. And if just enough people get on board with it, it works. Because basically, what we had was, I think, 3, 4, 5 players potentially doing that single column. Because what we have here is, what's this username? I can barely see it. Snuffbox with the defense. Of course, a bunch of command units. We got some artillery in the form of the Smerch and the Uragan. We have some CV sitting over there that was sent in by Taito. A Black Sheep unit here. I think it's basically everyone who went into Gregory, which means that the rest of their forces are utterly unprotected. They're basically just done. If they encounter any transport, then this thing will die. The thing is, Blue 4 has lost their courage, which at this point I cannot really blame them for. Because if it's, let's say, a few tanks that are making it into your base, it would possibly be survivable. Because you might be able to sneak the command unit back in. But if you're looking at something in the range of 15 to 20 tanks, it's a lot more difficult. So, they have completed their objective, and now it's time to go home, in essence. Because on the way there, they might still find a command infantry. Or a command vehicle of any kind. The other column, the 47 Pattons, and the T-72, the Salamandra, they're hunting down the command vehicle in Dimitri, and that could very well be the last one. This game is supposed to run for 40 minutes. We're not anywhere near 40 minutes. We're actually just passing the 10-minute mark, and that is if you're not counting the startup position. The setup time. So they were able to kill the command here, and we have some stay-behind forces over there. There's a Crotal. Wouldn't be surprised if that's out of ammo. Otherwise the Salamandra probably would have been hit. And over here, yeah, there's a Mistral, there's a Mortar even. There's the Vab. And there's the command infantry unit, and done. So, 11 minutes, 13 seconds, 1 glorious tank rush, and 1 destruction of Blue 4. 2,485 points were killed by blue versus 4,000 points that they lost. But then again, if you lose all command units on the map, you basically lose all the forces, so effectively only killed by red was 3,970. The one who sent it in, Titus' favorite cat girl, got 660 points, and 275 points were only the lost. It's not that bad. When it comes to his kills, he killed 3 command units, and that is by far, I think, the most important contribution. Because you got to get rid of those command units, you got to provide enough meat, if you will, to push through, and to just make your way to the enemy base. Anyway, that's it for today. If you have a replay, if you have a 10v10 that you think is worth showing off because something weird, silly, or stupid happened, then by all means, send it in. Linked down below in the description is how you can do that. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what your thoughts are down below, and I'll see you soon for more.